Is Cuphead a perfect video game? I don't know, probably. Classic boss rush running gun styled gameplay filled with diverse fights, constantly evolving mechanics, loads of secrets, a variety of different playstyles, a charming world to explore, a flawless difficulty curve, and some of the best art design in the game industry ever. Okay, yeah, it's pretty good. But you already knew that. I already knew that. And everyone else in their favorite cup and or mug had that fact in their head when it came out 5 years ago. 2017 was the year video games peaked. Fight me. It's good. You're good. I'm good. It looks like a cartoon. It's hard. Funny bad game journalist incident in 2017. Half cup, half man, all terror. We get it. We get it. What's there to talk about? We all already know Mughead is great. Why even bring it up? It couldn't possibly be because I wanted to play the DLC and needed to make a video as an excuse to buy it, could it? Cuphead's structure can be boiled down to two simple concepts: exploration, combat. Explore overworld, fight Super Frog Eo brothers, kick their teeth in.
Here we show you a close-up of a frog croaking.
Find cool boss, fight cool boss, stop by whale come store, find cool boss with new stuff, fight cool boss with new stuff, explore, fight, rinse, repeat. Cuphead on the surface is a simple game. It's Mega Man, but only the bosses. It's Toho, but only the bosses. It's Toe Man and Mega Ho, but with only the bosses. There is optional traditional platforming levels, which are well-designed flusterclucks, but the focus is primarily on the bosses.
A brawl is surely brewing. Here goes.
Because of Cupman's focus on purely boss spectacle, it gives the designers, artists, musicians, and coders the freedom to go absolutely sicko dicko cuppo muggo mode to polish and tune each fight into a mirror shine. Fights are difficult mammoths that demand the absolute best from the player. Despite the high difficulty, each fight is fair, varied, and constantly offers interesting challenges. Bosses usually have a rotation of different attacks and phases, meaning not only is the boss always doing something new that can't be fully predicted, by the time you get bored of the fight, it radically changes and shifts into something brand new. Just as the art changes, morphs, and shifts, the gameplay changes with it. The art design and the game design are perfectly synced, constantly flooding the eyes with a feast of artistry and tight-knit gameplay. Bees turn into airplanes, a candy princess rips off her head and throws it at you, giant cigars blow fire at you, and boats turn into giant metal monsters. Mughead is so metal, the final boss is literally the devil in hell. Mughead is filled with so much creativity that's overflowing and overwhelming at the seams. Each level is about 2 minutes in length, which means each level demands 2 minutes of player perfection and offers 2 minutes of perfect, pure artistry and pure gameplay that pushes you to the limit. 19 bosses, 6 running guns. You could technically beat the game in under an hour your first playthrough, but the game is so mug-bustingly difficult, it took me about 10 hours in total to beat it my first run. The story is simple, the structure is simple, but the sheer imagination on display and the depth of the intertwined gameplay and art design makes Cup Mug an experience of pure bombastic excellence, just like the old magical cartoons the game was inspired by. Wait, so is Cuphead a perfect game or not? Yeah, sure. Why not? On a macro game design level, everything in the game is polished to a mirror shine. Different weapons and charms bring variety to the gameplay, different difficulty modes, challenge runs like the pacifist run and getting an S rank on each boss. Everything works as intended with little to no hiccups. The game design works as intended flawlessly. And the same can be said for the micro level of the game's design. Each fight is varied, offers a variety of challenges, supports the use of different weapons, charms, and characters. Difficulty curve is gradual and different people struggle with different bosses, meaning that difficulty comes from the individual's playstyle rather than the game unfairly pumping out difficult encounters by design. I really couldn't find concrete issues with Cuphead, both in the big design decisions and the small design decisions of the game. But we can debate about game design decisions. While I don't believe any of the game's design is bad or non-working, we can argue back and forth about some of its minute details. Like, for example, is Calamaria stoning the player in her third phase fair? Is whatever the fuck this geometry ass attack fair? Does it even make sense to the theme of the boss fight? The barrier of entry to play the game is very high due to difficulty. Is that necessarily fair? Should there be an easy mode? The last boss Sekiro is bullshit. Stop defending that. The biggest design quandary I personally have with the game is the idea of the preservation of art versus gameplay balance, which is the pretentious way of saying it has wacky hitboxes. Some fights have big, sweeping animation sequences that are meant to showcase a transition in phase or a big attack, but it's difficult to fully understand where the animated spectacle ends and the combat begins. Why does this not hurt me, but this does? Even then, the hitboxes in general are just a little odd. Sometimes little firefuckers hurt, sometimes they don't. Tying the animation to what to avoid is a genius idea because the player is constantly constantly studying the beautiful animation to figure out attack patterns and when to dodge. It further syncs the gameplay and the art design, but sometimes the art is so goddamn jaw-dropping and over the top, it's hard to know when the gameplay actually starts back up again. Like, this sequence is gorgeous to watch, but having the stage setting change so drastically mid-fight makes visual clarity and hitbox understanding just a little bit whack. Okay, let's talk about the DLC now. It's good. Oh my god, it's really good. In fact, it's great. It's perfect. Probably. The delicious last course is exactly what was advertised. More head, more cup. New weapons, new charms, new character, new challenge runs, new mini-bosses, new bosses, etc, etc. You know how the game works by now. The new weapons slash charms slash Miss Chalice complement the gameplay and mix up the main game as well. The new bosses are frantic, the best animated in the game, and filled with some of my favorite fights now. Buggy Soprano and Furry Bait Dog might be my favorite fights in the entire game now. Just below the cigar boss, of course. The story, just like the main game, is again simple but pretty fun. However, the gameplay, animation, and music have been cranked up to 11. They really do go all out with these new fights, and the years of effort were well worth it. While I truly don't have much to say about the DLC bit aside from, it's really good, play it, I did notice some of the bosses in the DLC kind of rely on gimmicks to stand out from the main game's bunch.
This match will get red hot. It's on!
A true mark of a perfected concept is when you can't fully expand the idea further and have to change up the formula. Cuphead really already mastered the concept of Mega Man / Toho bosses in the main game, so how could they really further expand these bosses in an add-on? Some DLC fights further that design philosophy just a little bit, changing stages mid-fight, mixing up stage hazards, etc. But overall, the bosses of Inkwell Isle 4 rely on new concepts exclusive to that boss fight alone, or for lack of a better word, gimmicks. Weird music lasers and a fake-out knockout screen.
That was so fucking clean. Oh my god, I earned that win. What?
Flipping the screen to different perspectives and messing with the player's controls, a whole set of bosses where you can only parry, each with different uses for the parry and different ideas, the secret boss using the whole face a certain direction idea, flying in between strings of hot dogs. This boss was really gross, by the way. There's all sorts of weird gimmicks to each part of the DLC. And while that's not a bad thing, it just means they had to try something different rather than expanding on what the main game already had. Doing something new rather than refining the old design philosophies. When you reach a certain level of proficiency or understanding in your craft, concept, idea, or whatever, you're left with trying new things rather than polishing what worked before. Much like animation changes over time, once you reach the point where you have perfected your vision, all that's left to do is to take that vision in new directions and see how it complements the original idea and how it can grow into something new. Cartoons, stop motion, animation have been perfected over many years of growth. There's a way to produce a cartoon, a level, a concept, or any creative endeavor and have it be delivered exactly what you want it to be. But changing up that style and mixing it up with new ideas is how a medium stays fresh and lives throughout the test of time. Cuphead came back already knowing it reached magnificence before, but now it pushes just a little bit past that barrier of perfection and delivers an experience as a pure blast of raw creativity. Alright, here's the boss tier list. See ya.
Lamella, can you please shut